Good afternoon. My technology is not working great today, so I couldn't mirror the screen while giving this lecture, but I'll post the PowerPoint link to the discussion post too so you can see it. Today's lecture is going to be on manifest destiny. This is an important topic in United States history, and it's going to cover the periods of between 1803 and 1853. We're really going to look into the different treaties and purchases made to expand the United States and the underlying effects it had on different people groups. So it's not as clear-cut as just buying land or, taking land in treaties. There's going to be other impacts to it also. So manifest destiny, as we all know, is the belief shared by many Americans in the mid-1800s that the United States should expand across the continent. Manifest destiny basically means that it's obvious that the fate of the United States is to spread from the Atlantic coast to the Pacific coast. And President Polk was the one to first term this. He comes in later during this period, but he's going to coin the term manifest destiny. And really, at the start of the manifest destiny, starting in 1803, the United States is going to be east of the Mississippi River, and mainly the 13 regional colonies. We're going to have some few other territories and a couple of states, but we really haven't expanded into that territory up to the Mississippi River yet. And then in this next 50 years, we're going to expand all the way to the Mississippi River and then even farther west. So very important time period in our history as it comes to gaining over 2/3 of what will become the United States and settling it, and dealing with different countries in Mexico and Great Britain, and dealing with the Native American Indian groups that are there during this time period. So the first thing that's going to kick off manifest destiny is going to be the Louisiana Purchase, which is going to be a major steal for the United States. Thomas Jefferson is going to buy it from France in 1803 for $15 million. And it's going to be about a third of the present-day United States. It started off, Jefferson just wanted New Orleans, so we could take full control of the Mississippi River. And France, fighting in the Napoleonic Wars, needed some more money, so they decided to sell us the rest of the Louisiana territory, which is going to work out great. So now the United States is going to go from being east of the Mississippi to all the way to the Rocky Mountains, over doubling in size. And those states are going to be pretty impactful and resource-wise too. The controversy here is going to be that who's living there. France is not going to have a large population there, excluding New Orleans. Their main goal in American colonization was to trade. So they're going to have trading posts set up, but the most people living there are going to be the Native Americans. So now we bought this land from France, who technically weren't living on the land, and you could argue didn't own the land. The Native Americans were living there. So now what are we going to do with the Native Americans? This opens up a big controversy. Was it fair for us to take this land? Did the land belong to the United States now, or did it still belong to the Native Americans that were living on the land and had been living on the land for hundreds of years prior? Do we need to buy this land from them and pay them for the land before our American settlers move out there? And it's going to create a large source of conflict all the way up into the 1890s with the Native Americans in these lands and the reservation system. So the Louisiana Purchase is going to be very impactful as far as land we gain, but it's also going to cause lots of issues with the Native Americans and controversy with how to deal with those people groups. But, super cheap land. And another controversy that's going to happen with the Louisiana Purchase is whether Jefferson actually had the power within our government to buy a purchase like that by himself. It's going to be really one of the first uses of executive order, which we're going to see really expand in today's world. By that point in time, it doesn't precisely give him the right to do this in the Constitution, which is kind of, you could say, hypocritical of Thomas Jefferson, because he's going to be a strict constitutionalist, and this is the complete opposite. He's going to go and do something that, the Constitution doesn't say he can't do it, but it also doesn't tell him he can. So that's going to be up for debate. The strict constitutionalists minus Jefferson, and some people on Jefferson's side are going to say that he didn't have the right to do that. The president can't just buy a large portion of land like that. And then you have loose constitutionalists that say if a power is not given to a certain person in the Constitution and it doesn't say they can't do it, then therefore you can adapt it and you can't. So we have two controversies with the Louisiana Purchase. First, Native Americans, was it their land? Is it their land? Do we need to purchase from them? What do we do with them when the American settlers come? And then second, was it constitutional for Thomas Jefferson to purchase Louisiana Purchase? Today, I would say that most Americans, yeah, Thomas Jefferson, that's great. He bought he bought all that land. But if you really look at it from a constitutional standpoint, what you stand on, are you a strict constitutionalist or are you a loose constitutionalist? That's going to dictate your opinion on Louisiana Purchase. Second big purchase is going to be Florida in 1819. We're going to buy it from Spain in exchange for $5 million. And President James Monroe is going to be the one to buy that. The controversy in this is that, again, Spain does not have a big population in Florida. It's going to be mostly Seminole Indians. So we're going to take their land from them, and more Native American controversy. Was it fair for the European Americans to be trading land that they didn't live on, that they didn't use for hunting? That, it's a big deal for the Seminole Indians. And it was just a swamp for Spain, basically. And now they're swapping sides. And you're going to see Andrew Jackson is going to be sent to Florida to take care of to eliminate this threat of the Seminole Indians and move them to a reservation. The next and probably biggest, I don't want to say land purchase, but the biggest addition to the United States, not as far as land goes, but probably monetary value during this time period, it's going to be Texas. Texas, as we know, in the 1820s, 1830s, is going to be part of Mexico. And in the late 1820s, they're going to start allowing Americans to come in and settle, hoping to grow the population. Stephen F. Austin is going to be an agent for the Spanish government to get Americans to come. They're going to bring 300 families at first to Texas, but by 1830, there are over 25,000 Americans living in Texas. So they were required by law to become Mexican citizens and become Catholic. So they decided that they kind of want to break away from this. They would really prefer to be a part of the United States. So they're going to rebel against Mexico starting in 1835. They're going to win their independence. And this is where, the Alamo, Goliad, the Battle of San Juanito is going to come into play. They're going to win it from Mexico and Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna. And then, this is where the controversy goes. Was it right or fair or just for us to send our settlers into Texas knowing that eventually they're probably going to want to become a part of the United States? So we kind of invaded the territory with settlers with the hope of, hey, eventually we may get this land because these Americans are going to want to break away from Mexico. But Texas wins their independence in 1836, and they develop a country called the Lone Star Republic. They asked to join the United States right off the bat, which is going to lead us to another controversy. Do we allow Texas in? During this time period, we had the slave-free state crisis going on. Do we allow Texas to become a slave state? Yes or no? We're trying to balance free and slave states, so we don't really have a northern state to be a free state to balance Texas. So that controversy is going to be a big part of why we tell them no. We're also going to be afraid to start a war with Mexico. If we annex Texas, they might start a war. So we're going to tell them no. 9 years later, in 1845, they're going to come and ask again, and we're going to allow them to join. And another state in the north is going to solve the slave crisis for us. So Texas, obviously, very high in resources and, economic-wise, very big today. So if you ask somebody, that was a no-brainer, let's annex Texas. It wasn't at that time, and it still can be controversial if you look at the slave versus free state issue. And if you look at how we settled it, and basically, instituted a coup of the Texas land by sending over 25,000 Americans to it. Then we have the Oregon Country. So the Oregon Country is going to be purchased or bought in 1846. It's going to be a claim between the United States and Great Britain. In the 1830s, thousands of them are going to west on the Oregon Trail. And we wanted most of Oregon. We're actually going to compromise with Great Britain and split it to 49. But again, not many British or Americans living there at the time. Native Americans are the ones who owned the land before we went and settled on it. So controversy, is it right for us to be taking all this native land? Then you're going to see a war with Mexico, not directly tied to Texas, but almost immediately after, and mainly tied to gaining the land of California, Arizona, New Mexico. So we offered to buy it. They tell us no. Basically, we station troops in parts of Texas that are disputed. They get in a fight with the Mexican army. and we use that as a way to go to war and eventually use our military technology to overcome and win and gain large parts of Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and California. Again, morally, it's a little iffy. Did we have a right to California and Arizona, New Mexico? Probably not. Even large parts of Native American land on that too. Is it right to go to war and essentially colonize or take land from other countries? That's debatable. You're going to see us condemn it in other cases, but it's okay for us to go do it. So, history is not a black or white matter. It's gray area. I mean, and even in the United States, and if you're a patriotic American, you may say, yeah, we need that land. That was our right. Manifest destiny. Sure. But there are people living there, and we kind of did it unethically at times. And you can see this in the example of the War of Mexico. So America's not perfect. We should understand that if we study American history correctly, or with an unbiased viewpoint. And you're going to see we're going to do it in the age of American imperialism, and even in World War II. You're going to see us do it. But we're going to condemn others for colonization and for taking over. So controversy. It's debatable whether it was justified for us to go to war with Mexico and gain all this land. Then the last one is going to be Mexican. It's going to be the Gadsden Purchase, and we're going to buy parts of New Mexico and Arizona to help complete the Southern Railroad. We're going to pay $10 million for that. But again, controversy here, we're not just buying land, we're essentially threatening them, and if you don't sell us this, we're going to invade again about 7 years later after the war had ended. So we probably got a cheaper price than what it was worth because we threatened them. So essentially, talking about Manifest Destiny today, we looked at the different land purchases we had, or the wars that we used to take the land. We talked a little bit about how it was not black and white. It wasn't just buying land. We were buying land from European countries for the most part, and the Native Americans were the ones living on it. And we oftentimes settled it illegally, or settled it without regard to those Native Americans. So Manifest Destiny, while it made the United States a country spanning from ocean to ocean, and helped it become a great nation, it also had some black eyes along the way. I hope you enjoyed the lecture today and learned a little bit about Manifest Destiny and some of the controversy that surrounds it. Thank you.